Hey fellas, before we even begin this video and inevitably cause my channel's downfall with how brutally honest I'm going to be about Hogwarts Legacy, I want to know what your favorite aspect of the game is. Is it the combat? Or the loot, the customization, the map? Comment down below, I'm genuinely curious. I'm going to predict that most of you will say the exploration because that would definitely be my pick. Now let's talk about what I think Hogwarts Legacy didn't do so well. It's a hard pill to swallow to think that I actually dislike something about the open world Harry Potter Hogwarts game that I've always dreamt of playing. But I have indeed managed to swallow it. I'm red-pilled now. I'm out of the Matrix. The little kid inside me was going to love Hogwarts Legacy no matter the state it was released in, because I've just been a fanboy of Harry Potter for years. Avalanche spiked my chocolate cauldrons with a love potion, and there was nothing I was going to dislike about the game, even if its problems were Fortnite dancing right in front of my eyes. But now, I've had the post-hype clarity. I've come to my senses. Before, I was stumbling around in the dark, but now I've had my eyes opened. Without delaying any further, I think that the main storyline is the weakest aspect of the game in comparison to everything else it has to offer, and I'm going to explain why the main story is disappointing for me. If you're worried about spoilers, I'm not going to discuss anything major, but there may be some minor spoilers because I'm going to give you guys a brief rundown of the general concept of the story. So, you start the game as a 5th year Hogwarts student who begins their magical education late, which is explained later. You travel to Hogwarts with your mentor, Professor Fig, but your journey is interrupted by a big old dragon who's not very happy to see you. That's the vibe I got from it anyway, because it was shooting flames at us, and I'm not talking about a fire freestyle.
Alright, I say,
You and Professor Fig manage to escape using a portkey that you were conveniently discussing at the time and discover an ancient magic that only you, the main character, can see. You're basically a parcel tongue, but you can't talk to snakes, so not really a parcel tongue. It's kind of lame in comparison. Anyway, no good story is without its villains, and we soon get to meet Ranrock, a not very nice goblin who's after this ancient magic that we've got. But this story isn't as cool as it sounds. First, let's talk about Ranrock. I don't know about you, but even the concept of Ranrock sounds really generic, and that's exactly what it ends up being. We've seen this sort of goblin in the Harry Potter books already, a wizard-kind hating creature who yearns to possess their wand and powers. Think about Griphook from the Deathly Hallows. He betrayed Harry due to his mistrust of humans, and then went to Voldemort thinking he was going to get rewarded. What I'm getting at is this sort of character has already been established in the books, and I get that the majority of goblins hate humankind, but I think they could have done something a little different with Ranrock. And yes, his backstory is pretty sad, and I appreciate Avalanche for expanding on his character a little, but we only get one slice of information as to how Ranrock came to hate wizards, and that's it. The rest of the game is just him being angry and boring. I think he lacks a lot of personality compared to characters like Sebastian and Ominous. So yeah, I think that's one factor that makes the main story pretty disappointing. Before you can defeat Ranrock though, you need to learn his story, his motives and plans, as well as understand the ancient magic you possess. Luckily, there are witches and wizards that also have the same power as you who you can ask to explain everything. They're dead though. Not to fret, this is a game based on a fictional fantasy world where really insane things can happen, like jelly beans that have gross flavors. I know, that is pretty wild.
A lot. Earwax.
You basically have to complete various trials to progress the story, which in turn allows you to speak to the 4 different ancient magic wielders. But I personally don't think that this is a great concept to have in the story. It makes the gameplay quite tedious and boring at times because you visit this weird realm where you have to solve the same puzzles and fight the same enemies each time. It's a lot of locate where the next trial is, defeat the enemy's guard in the trial, enter the weird ancient magic realm, and defeat more enemies to unlock the chance to speak to one of the witches or wizards. And you have to do this 4 different times. I don't normally complain about repetition in open world games. I mean, the worlds tend to be really big, and sometimes it's difficult for developers to come up with new gameplay mechanics and stop themselves from repeating the same mission mission over and over. I still haven't forgotten about how many tracking missions there were in Ghost of Tsushima. I really do understand that, but having half of the storyline be just going from trial to trial, it's not great. It would have been better to save those sort of repetitive locations as side quests for the completionists, and instead focus on making the main story as engaging as possible. Now, they did explain the trials in the actual story, how you have to do them to prove yourself, but surely you could have done something else. Or you could have even kept the trial concept, but made each trial significantly different and unique to the other. Let's take Breath of the Wild as an example. I'd say it suffers the same issue as Hogwarts Legacy with its Divine Beast boss fights. They all look identical to one another and only differ because of their unique attack patterns, which is essentially how I would describe the trials. They are pretty much the same location with slightly varying puzzles. There's a Breath of the Wild DLC that adds in an entirely new boss. It's extremely unique because it reverts expectations that the player gains throughout their playthrough. The little fella looks all innocent and then hits you with the... And I feel like Hogwarts Legacy could have done something like that. They could have made each trial unique, shock the player each time. There's only 4 of them you have to do. You could have created a different gameplay mechanic for each one, or made them look different to each other, rather than having the same exact location each time. Before we end the video, I just want to clarify that I love Hogwarts Legacy. It's just the story that didn't really do it for me, mainly due to the things I just mentioned. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I want to know if you actually enjoyed the storyline or if you think it was a weak aspect of the game. I hope this video was entertaining, and I sure do hope you'll consider liking it and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. That's all. See ya.
Pirates on the boat, pirates on the boat, pirates on the fucking boat, pirates on the boat.